quickly, or we're going to drag it out?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Welcome back to Absolutely the Best Podcast, a work in progress. I'm Zach. With me, as always, is my good friend George.
Hello, hello.
This is Series 1, episode lucky number 13. And today we are talking about Captain America Civil War from 2016. After we discuss the movie, we'll figure out where to place it in our MCU movie ranking and our mission to figure out which one is absolutely the best. And it might be this one. As a reminder, we assume the listener has seen the movie before, and of course there will be spoilers. So definitely watch this one first, then watch it again. And then, well, I mean, if it's going to stop you from listening to the podcast, go ahead and listen. But I strongly suggest rewatching this one. Before we get started, welcome to the new listeners in Costa Rica and Japan.
Oh, well, nice.
If I'm pretty sure those are new. If it's a repeat, my apologies. I also just wanted to do a couple of plugs here real quick. One, I had fun being a guest on the Games My Mom Found podcast. You can find that one pretty easy by the name. We talked about a 2004 GameCube game called Prince of Persia Warrior Within, which is one that I played back then. And mostly we shit on it. It's not very good.
Did you guys talk about the movie?
No, the Jake Gyllenhaal one. No, I'll save that for this podcast, George. I'll put a link in the show notes for that one if anybody wants to check it out. And last plug before we really get going on the movie. If you don't know, we do have a YouTube channel, and mostly the episodes go there, but I don't know who would listen to an entire podcast on YouTube. It's YouTube Music or whatever, but
you'd be surprised, man.
We do get downloads from there, so I guess I shouldn't shit on it, but I do post shorts there all the time. I try to do at least 2 per episode. So if you want to check those out, they're fun. They're like less than a minute. They have to be in order for it to be a short. Some of them are pretty popular, like the one about the Garrett Morris cameo in Ant-Man. It's got a lot of views. I was surprised, and a lot of comments too. All positive, fortunately. And you get to see our dumb faces for about a minute. So check it out. I don't really care if you subscribe or not, but feel free to have a look. Now, George, I got 2 questions for you. I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Is Captain America Civil War technically a political drama?
I mean, I think very much so, right? Like, I think if anything, this is a prime example of just because it's legal doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
Just like, to me, it's the Second Amendment or lifetime appointments of the Supreme Court justices.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, George. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just me. I mean, maybe I'm reaching, but I don't think I am. It's just like, there are a lot of things I think that were, like slavery was legal at one point, but that doesn't make it right, So I think that this very much fits into that. And I think even now, there's all sorts of examples of laws that don't quite feel right, even though they're legal where they're made. So. Mm-hmm. What about you? Do you think it's a political drama?
I think I was watching this one. I'm like, oh my God, I think this is a political thriller. And it's really good. That's not a complaint at all. Just seemed kind of unusual. Sorry, what?
Multiple layers to this movie.
Yeah. And I just thought it seemed unusual for a superhero movie. Next question. Which side are you on? Are you on Team Iron Man or Team Captain America?
I'm on Team Rogers, man.
Nice.
I can totally empathize with Tony's perspective, but I'm so straight on Team Rogers for this one.
Yeah.
Same. What about you?
Same. I think I feel like they're both right, but Tony is also wrong.
Right. And
yeah, I definitely see it from Cap's point of view more so than Tony's. But I understand it's a really good movie. They make it hard to say that somebody is, this person is definitely acting in the wrong. Like, right. I can't say that about either one of them.
Yeah. All
right. So let's start with our recollections of the movie, how we first saw it and whatnot. Ooh. Do you want to go first?
No, you can.
Okay.
You have the ticket stub, right?
Yeah.
For those 2?
Yeah. I think I have it scheduled to post later in the week before this drops, obviously. So this was another one where it was a late morning, midweek matinee. on the ticket stub, it said $7.50. So I think that's probably the best $7.50 I ever spent on a movie.
Really?
It's certainly up there. And I remember The Winter Soldier being really great. Obviously, more recently, I know it, but at the time of seeing Civil War, I was like, yeah, Winter Soldier was really good. And it was done by the same director, same writers. It's pretty much the same cast plus a few extra people who are also great. So I was pretty pumped for it. And I remember going in though thinking, how are they going to pit Captain America and Iron Man against one another? Right? Like what I mean, they weren't exactly like best friends in the first Avengers or whatever, right? But I was curious how they were going to make this work without it being hokey. And I remember walking out of this one just being blown away. It went places I wasn't expecting, totally circumvented all the superhero movie tropes. I was pleased, and I'm also pleased to say I thought that it held up great.
Did you look towards the direction of LA and blow a kiss to the Russo brother that you did meet and say, good job, man?
Yeah. No, it's never too late to do that, though. Good job, Russo brothers.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think when this movie was being promoted, I was like super excited. Because if it was even half as good as the Civil War storyline in the comic books, I was feeling it was going to be a home run, because that was one of my favorite storylines in comics. There's another one called Kingdom Come that I like a lot. That's maybe almost as much as Civil War, but that's a DC one.
Oh, okay. I was like, I'm not familiar with that at all. But
yeah.
Maybe James Gunn will tap that for something awesome in the future.
If anyone could handle it, it'd be James Gunn, because it's a very character-focused storyline, even with all the action and stuff. I was a bit sad that we didn't get more folks from the MCU or like from the TV series Marvel universe, like Daredevil, Luke Cage, or Jessica Jones. I intentionally left out Iron Fist because, man, if it wasn't for Jessica Henwick, that series would have really been a total bust.
So wait, you were disappointed that they weren't in this movie?
That they weren't, yeah, because in the comic books, it's Civil War is literally everybody in the Marvel Comics universe. So it's like people picking sides or people like laying low on purpose so that they don't have to pick sides. It was a bigger fight.
That so I'm always kind of like, too many characters in a movie kind of ruins it. Yeah. And I was listening to the commentary. I don't remember if it was one of the directors or one of the writers, because both directors and both writers in the commentary. But one of them said something like about the reason that they didn't like most superhero team up movies is because everybody becomes worse at their job, right? To make more room for screen time, for the other characters. So, I don't think that happened here. And I think that's kind of what they were bragging about. But I feel like the more characters you put in, the harder it's going to be to not do that.
Though Endgame did prove that wrong.
Right. I mean, it's just that one, like at the very end, they got everybody, right?
Right. Serious hat tip to the Russo brothers for this movie. I thought that they really captured how complicated both perspectives were on the Sokovia Accords. Yeah. I forget what it was called in the comic books, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. Those are it's a Superhuman Registration Act.
That sounds rough.
Yeah, the Sokovia Accord sounds so much better. Yeah. But the principle's different, the same. It's exactly the same. People that are superheroes having to register, or else or else. Right. And then the or else is left up to your imagination. I do kind of just wish that we would have seen Civil War with Thor and the Hulk in it, because I'm kind of curious what the Russo brothers which side the Russo brothers thought they would have been on. But I can see why they decided to sideline it.
I think both of those guys writers kind of said that Hulk probably would not have been on Tony's side because of the scene later on. We'll cover that when we get to it. But anyway.
No, I mean, I remember that part too. It just would have been interesting to see if both of them would have been on one side or if one of them would have been on both sides. Just because they're so overpowered that airport scene would have been a much more interesting fight.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it would have been interesting, like giant Ant-Man versus Hulk. That could have been interesting, yeah.
Or the Hulk probably could have still just knocked him out with one punch, right?
I don't know. We'll never know.
Yeah, and in terms of like new arrivals, man, T'Challa's full introduction into the MCU, I don't know if there could have been a better way to bring him fully into the MCU than this. It was pretty awesome.
He's a great part of this film.
Yeah. Like, man, that guy's presence, Chadwick Boseman, the way he just plays T'Challa is just dead on and pretty awesome. He's like not the biggest, like most yoked guy ever, but like he's still just got that presence of someone that can kick your ass. Yeah,
he's a good size.
Yeah. I was a little scared rewatching this again for this episode because, man, I just remember loving this movie, and you know, I'll call it now. Like this, to me, I think this movie is shooting for the #1 spot on our list, especially if I have anything to do with it.
Yeah. I was a little questioning whether I was going to put this above The Winter Soldier before I watched it.
Me too. Yeah. I knew it was going to be close, and it feels weird almost that like 2 Russo brother MCU movies are at the top, but I'm good with it. And you know, if anything's gonna knock them off, I'm kind of scared to revisit
the other Russo
Endgame.
brothers movies.
Yeah, but the only thing that could possibly knock it off for me is another Russo brother movie, which is the Endgame, right?
I agree.
So yeah, I'm assuming Endgame holds up to everything I remember, but still, I feel like Endgame and this would be super close.
For me, it might be Infinity War in this, but I can't say for sure. I'm getting like, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, I am like Empire Strikes Back better than Jedi, right? I like the dark ending.
Right.
So, you know, for me, that's like Infinity War, like the end of that, I was just like, what just happened? Like I was stunned.
Everybody turned into ash.
Endgame is awesome and, you know, great resolution and all that, but I don't know. We're going to have to decide when we get to those.
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Those are both movies that I love.
I mean, this is why we're doing the podcast, right?
Right.
Okay. Let's get into the credits. Who made Captain America Civil War? It's the 13th movie in the MCU series. It was written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. We already discussed them quite a bit during the other 2 Captain America movies, which they wrote. And it was directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, which we also discussed them plenty in the Winter Soldier episode. So then we just need to talk about the new main characters in Captain America Civil War, because most of the characters in this we have seen and discussed in the other movies leading up to it. So first and foremost, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa / Black Panther. He's the Prince of Wakanda, but shortly into the movie, he becomes King of Wakanda. Unfortunately for him. Not the way he wanted to, I'm sure. It's not really established in this movie, but he's pretty much on par with Super Soldier, right? Wouldn't you say? In terms of strength and ability.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, maybe I'll add this in now, but do you remember that scene in Infinity War when everybody was charging the aliens coming inside? Like they opened the shield?
Yes.
Do you remember Captain America and Black Panther were basically running, and then they totally outrace everybody on their side?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just the 2 of them. Yep. So he's totally on par with Cap's serum.
Great. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's just every time I see anything with Chadwick Boseman in it now, it's a damn shame that he's no longer with us. I really like him as T'Challa, and he's just a great actor in general.
Yeah. I think just the way he played Black Panther was great. You could buy his rage as a son who had his father pulled away from him.
Yeah. Like
too soon, and the weight of a king forced to do double duty as Black Panther and as the king. I totally agree. Seriously taken away from us way too soon.
Yeah.
Somewhat unpopular opinion, man. Black Panther 2, I don't know about you, but it really didn't work for me as much. And I don't know if it was because he wasn't in it or what. I really wanted to like Black Panther 2.
I think if they had picked anybody except for Shuri, is that
right?
Yeah, to be the next Black Panther. Like why wasn't it Lupita Nyong'o's character? Like she was awesome. She's great in the first Black Panther. I don't think she's even in the second one, is she?
And she is the baby mama. She is the mother of the new Black Panther, right? Of the coming or the future Black Panther.
Is she? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, because he had a son. She revealed the son at the very end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next on the roster, we have Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. we all know who Spider-Man is, and they don't really get into any kind of an origin story here, which is a smart move, I think. I don't know why people hate Tom Holland as
Wait, in general. Who hates him?
There's people. Some really? Other podcasts I listen to, they do nothing but like shit on him, and I don't know why. I think he's good. He's like a kid in this.
Do they hate him
in this role
just because of the way he does Spider-Man, or do they hate him because they like Tobey and Andrew better?
I think it's the way. Well, I think it's both. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but anyways, I think he's the best Spider-Man personally of the movie series Spider-Mans. Tobey Maguire is fine. Andrew Garfield is fine. Although I didn't really like the Andrew Garfield movies, particularly the second one. But I feel like Tom Holland just nails the part.
I do agree with you. I mean, I don't agree with you 100% in that I actually really like Andrew Garfield's in the Amazing Spider-Man series. I mean, at least the first one, right? I just feel like Andrew Garfield nails the look and the feel, the vibe of Spider-Man great. But Tom Holland just has the most heart to me out of like all of them. He's a great Spider-Man. I'm kind of miffed that people hate him as Spider-Man.
I'll give you a couple of podcast episodes to listen to if you want to be mad about it.
I genuinely want to hear it just out of curiosity. That's weird.
We've got a couple more new characters here that are of significance. Martin Freeman plays Everett K. Ross, who's a CIA counterterrorism agent. I really like Martin Freeman, but this character is kind of a dick, and I think he's supposed to be, so good job, Martin Freeman. His American accent is a little bit weird. It's better than Benedict Cumberbatch's in Doctor Strange, though. I really love Martin Freeman as Dr. Watson on the Sherlock Holmes series on BBC. Did you watch that?
Is that the series where Benedict Cumberbatch is Sherlock Holmes series?
Yes.
I never actually watched that.
Oh, really? The first two seasons are really good, and it gets a little silly after that. And I think you've watched Cargo, right?
I've seen Cargo. I've watched every zombie movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And that's got Martin Freeman in it. Then last we have Daniel Bruhl as Helmut Zemo, who's a former Sokovian colonel who becomes a terrorist. He's just like a regular dude in this movie as the bad guy, and somehow it's still awesome. You know, he doesn't have any superpowers, no like super weapons, no special suit, nothing. And you know, he's the main bad guy in this. He plays a really good bad guy as well in Inglourious Bastards. Frederick Zoller. I don't know. He's like, you hate him. He's awful. And he was really good in Rush as Niki Lauda. Did you ever see that? It's got
I didn't see Rush.
Oh, it's got Chris Hemsworth in it, right? Yeah. It's like the true story of how he got burned up really bad in a car accident or something. That was a pretty good movie. Anyway, so let's get on to the main discussion.
Wait, you're missing one. I just realized.
Who was that?
Marissa Tomei.
Okay,
Marissa Tomei as Hot Aunt May.
For you, Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, main character. Marissa Tomei is awesome and everything. My Cousin Vinny, The Rustler, everything else she's been in.
Yeah.
Any other plugs for Marissa Tomei I'm missing?
No. I just wanted her included in the main block of new characters.
Okay. That's fair. And she's you know what? She's in the other Spider-Man movies, so yeah. You know, I think that that argument holds. Okay. So I totally forgot the opening of this movie.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah. It starts in 1991. I'm presuming in Siberia based on the rest of the movie, but it doesn't actually say. And you see some Hydra dude getting this red notebook with a black star on it, which I really want one of those notebooks. It looks awesome, but I can't find one. I looked.
Oh, you looked at Amazon?
Yeah, there's a few listings here and there, or like on Etsy. I don't want one that somebody made.
Right.
But they're out of stock anywhere I found one. I can't even find one on eBay for an unreasonable price. Anyways, we see Bucky gets thawed out, and the Hydra guy with the red notebook starts reading words to him in Russian out of the notebook. The translation of the words is longing, rusted, 17, daybreak, furnace, 9, benign, homecoming, 1, freight car. Doesn't mean anything. They just like the way that it sounded in Russian.
It sounds like some of the modern past phrases that people use instead of passwords.
Oh yeah,
it's like these lists of random non-connected words.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea,
right? But yeah, like it was interesting seeing Bucky in full gear and with his metal arm, screaming while undergoing programming. And I was kind of wondering, do you know, does this kind of stuff actually work, where you actually can use and program somebody so that trigger words like
I don't know. I feel like that's been in movies, so it's definitely a movie thing that works. I don't know about real life, but it does. Like this is what activates Bucky into Winter Soldier mode, and for the movie, I can accept that.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally accept it too. I was just curious if maybe you know, as a scientist, if that's even a thing that I think, because yeah, it's been in a number of movies.
I feel like that's like, I'm sure, psychology kind of thing, and that's very far from my strong point.
Right. Okay. Cool. It looks like Bucky gets what appears to be his first mission, and he's chasing down a car that's on a seemingly barren road. The car crashes. He rips open the trunk of the car, and it looks like, I'm assuming, super soldier serum, because it's covered in like a really nice protective casing. And yeah,
it's in like a briefcase, isn't it?
Wasn't it like padded and everything?
Oh yeah. But it looks
just like, for the blood.
So to me, it looked like bags of Kree blood, like because it looked like blood bags. But super soldier serum makes more sense, and I could not find any kind of clarification on it, and I think that they are purposefully vague about it.
Well, anyway, so he looks up like a badass. He has his full Winter Soldier gear on, and mission successful, it looks like.
Yeah, the Hydra agent says, "Well done, soldier." And when he was given the mission, they're like, sanction and extraction, no witnesses, right?
Right.
So, but bad job on the no witnesses because it's all on camera.
Right. Well, he saw the camera. I guess they didn't feel fit to track down where the footage was and destroy the footage.
I guess they must have acquired the footage but didn't destroy it, right? Because nobody sees it till much, much later.
Right.
But I do love how this comes back later, because you kind of assume that whoever was in the car is kind of a big deal, but it's a major deal, right?
Right.
So the next scene, it was my recollection of the start of the movie. It's Lagos, present day, around 2016.
It's a Scarlet Witch scoping out a joint, minus her Sokovian accent.
I thought she still had it a little bit.
No, it like flutters in and out. It's probably one of my more annoying things. I love Elizabeth Olsen, but the Sokovian accent, so heavy in Avengers 2 and in near non-existent in this movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a major difference between movies, for sure.
Yeah. And then by Infinity War, it's gone completely.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But yeah, Cap is basically talking to her through his earpiece, or her earpiece, I mean. And it looks like they're mentoring her in the field. Like, I like the...
Yeah.
Especially, not Scarlet Witch, Natasha.
Looking over your shoulder needs to become second nature.
Anybody ever tell you you're a little paranoid?
Not to my face. Why? Did you hear something?
Yeah. That exchange made me LOL a little bit.
Yeah, so Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, and Falcon are all there, as well as Captain America, and they're staking out Rumlow, who is a terrorist now, and he is supposedly in the area for nefarious reasons. By the way, whenever Rumlow speaks, the captions say Crossbones, but he's otherwise not referred to as Crossbones in this movie, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, I like how they introduced Red Wing. I guess a mini drone is better than an actual Red Falcon.
Is that in the comics? He had like he has a Red Falcon.
Yeah, that flies around with him.
Yeah. I didn't love the drone, but I would agree that's probably better.
Yeah,
more practical for a movie anyway.
It made for funnier scenes, like the whole like say thank you, and she was like, "I'm not thanking that thing."
Right. So it turns out Rumlow's target is the nearby Institute for Infectious Diseases, and obviously fighting breaks out. This fight scene I thought was had way too much shaky cam for me, and it was like cut too frenetically. I could not tell what was going on. I had a hard time watching it, and I was kind of worried for the rest of the film, because this is near the beginning of the movie, and I was like, oh, I don't remember this being this bad. Right. But fortunately, that's the worst of it.
I kind of just assumed it was like that because of the grittiness of the area and just the freneticness of we don't know where this attack is coming from.
I'm sure
crap,
it's an artistic choice or whatever, but it did not work for me. I don't like not being able to tell what's going on and just having everything shaky all the time.
I mean, to that point, Captain America arrives by airdrop from the Falcon. I didn't notice that before.
That was pretty cool.
I just thought, oh, hey, I guess, oh yeah, that's right. He didn't just get there. He was airdropped in, right? And it also looks like Falcon's wings can detach now, and he can use it as a shield, and they're bulletproof.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Which is a huge improvement over the first version. I like the scene where Scarlet Witch gave Steve an assist and just catapulted him to the 3rd floor of the building.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's like, hey, they've been practicing, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, cool teamwork across the board.
Yeah. That scene in particular, too, did you notice that the Cap was holding his breath the entire time while he was fighting everybody?
I did not. I just assumed that the gas hadn't really got to him while Scarlet Witch is kind of clearing it out.
Oh, maybe. But I
think you're right.
Yeah. Because he was just ripping off everybody's masks and stuff, and Chris Evans just kept his mouth shut the whole time.
I thought that was a good demonstration, though, of Scarlet Witch's power, was to be able to telekinetically pull that gas out. I'm not really sure what kind of gas it was either. I assumed it was like tear gas or something.
Yeah,
but
like, it had to be something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Because the bad guys were using it, so I assumed it was like bad.
That's what I thought, but then I was trying to figure out what it could have been, and I was rewatching it, and I never see who actually uses it, so I thought maybe it was like a security thing for the building. Security system for the building, but I'm not sure. So obviously the bad guys are wearing masks because they're prepared for this, but Crossbones is wearing his over a full face helmet.
Yeah.
Which is not going to make a correct seal against his face for the gas mask to work. It's certainly not OSHA approved.
I didn't notice that, but it's a totally, now that you brought it up, I'm like, oh man, how did I not notice that? While Steve, Sam, and I forget, Scarlet Witch are in the back or attacking from the front, it looks like Scarlet Witch is covering the back entrance, and she comes around whooping everybody's ass. Like, I thought this was a really awesome beatdown she was giving everybody, right up until Rumlow beats her down.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I thought your note said Scarlet Witch is covering the back entrance, and whoops, everyone's ass.
Oh,
that makes a lot more sense what you said.
Like, oopsie.
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait, did you see everyone's ass or something? I was like, what's going on? Okay. Yeah, she whoops everyone's ass. Got it. Yeah. Yes. And then go ahead.
No, and then like Rumlow comes and beats her down. And that was a pretty painful one.
Yeah.
It was a painful one, but it was great too, because it was like she just tosses her in there and throws a grenade right after. And she was super fast with how she reacted, grabbing the other guy and using him as a shield. Cap also takes a grenade, hit dead on with his shield. Like, I don't know. It's pretty good battle. And I liked actually Crossbones' outfit. I thought it was pretty sick.
Oh, yeah. It looked awesome.
Kind of reminds me of the Punisher.
Yes. Yeah, totally, actually, now that you mention it.
Did you like the pneumatic punch arm, the hand punch thing that he had?
That was... I mean, I would say that's cheating, but I mean, he's a bad guy, so.
Right. And he's trying to fight a super soldier, so kind of called for. But yeah, when Rumlow fights with Cap, he kind of gets his licks in first. I thought it was pretty brilliant throwing a bomb that attaches to Cap's shield, because he's going to toss his shield away.
Yeah.
That was pretty great move. when Rumlow removes his mask, he did look a lot like Deadpool's hairy ass. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yes. Yeah, he's seen better days. Rumlow tells Cap that Bucky remembered him. He tells to Captain America, he says,
he wanted you to know something. He said to me, please tell Rogers, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And you're coming with me.
And then, suicide bomb vest. And it explodes. And then we really see Scarlet Witch's power. She contains the explosion around Rumlow and moves it up and away from Captain America, but accidentally lets it blow up part of the building. Oops.
Right.
Which seems kind of minor given the destruction that happened in Age of Ultron, but we need an inciting incident for this movie, as well as a reason to put Scarlet Witch on the bench for a bit. So
that's actually probably one of my only gripes with this. One of my few gripes with this movie is that really she saved more people than the people that ended up ultimately dying. Because if that bomb had gone off in the marketplace, that would have been way worse.
Yeah, probably.
Right? And so the thought that the Sokovia Accords happened because of this was a little bit like,
I don't think it's the Sokovia Accords are because of this, but I think if you just started the movie with the Sokovia Accords, and like, hey, remember all the problems from the other movies that maybe some of you didn't even actually see? You know, like, I think we had to have something here.
But that was my beef too, because those were all like world-ending events. Like aliens were literally coming through. Yeah, like, would you rather deal with cleanup or, you know, say hello to your new overlords?
But I feel like I do see the other side to some extent. Like, you can't just let these, I'm going to use your favorite word, enhanced individuals.
Oh, damn it.
Just operate with impunity, right? Right. So, you know, again, I think it's a really good political drama here.
Right. We're getting into it too early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, holy shit. Like, that was such an entrance for this movie, or such a beginning scene for this movie. Rumlow teasing a bigger threat, and then everybody just showing how this new Avengers team has basically been training so well together.
Yeah.
So great.
So dumb. I didn't even put it together that like it's the same team that was at the end of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Wow.
The ones that showed up came out of the shadows.
Yeah. Jeez. In the next scene, the way that it's done, I think, is pretty interesting. It starts as what looks like a flashback to a college age Tony Stark talking to his parents. And apparently this was originally supposed to be a flashback in one of the earlier drafts, and they rewrote it.
Huh.
This is the last time that Tony ever saw his parents alive. And the de-aged Robert Downey Jr. in this looks great. Like, he looks straight out of Weird Science.
It's funny. I totally forgot he was in that movie until I saw like a random YouTube video about Weird Science.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's one.
And I was like, oh shoot, he was there.
That's one I want to watch. So, side note, because why not? One of the ideas I have for the podcast at some point is like, does it hold up? And watching movies they haven't watched in a while, like Weird Science, you know, and like, is it still great? I don't know. I know there's a couple of problematic lines in it, but
yes.
Anyways, so it turns out that this is not a flashback. It's a demonstration of Tony's latest tech for a group of MIT engineering students. He calls it binarily augmented retroframing, or BARF, which gets a little chuckle. And it's a kind of a therapy device to resolve old trauma.
I like how this technology kind of ends up being very key to the last Spider-Man movie, right? No,
the second one
to last.
With
Jake Gyllenhaal.
I want to say Mephisto, but
Mysterio.
That's it. Yeah. I kind of forgot that was part of it.
Yeah, there was that scientist complaining.
Actually, because they have a flashback to this scene in that movie, and Jake Gyllenhaal's just off stage, and I remember like going back and rewatching the scene to see if he was actually there, but they had not planned that out.
Oh, really? Oh, that would have been
great,
awesome.
Yeah. They'll have to George Lucas this one and insert him in digitally after the fact.
But wouldn't it be awesome though if they like made little enhancements like that, like, oh, there's Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie, or
I would be okay with that, but I don't like it when people go back and fuck with a movie.
Yeah, well, I mean that's because when it was done, it's always been done in a really bad way.
Yeah. If you can actually improve the movie, sure, I'm good with it. But who decides what's actually good? Me,
Kevin Feige, and
yes.
me, yeah, and us. Anyway, so everyone gets their projects funded by the inaugural September Fund, which I think is awesome. Tony asks everybody to reframe the future, which is kind of a cool phrase. I'm surprised that isn't a thing, or on more shirts.
Let's make it a thing.
Stuff. Yeah, right. And then he does that whole go break some eggs, and this is like the Tony Stark that everybody like loves, right? And I remember watching this, I'm like, man, this is what billionaire assholes tanking their social media and car companies should be doing.
After Tony's presentation, he's walking to the elevator, and I don't know what the character's name or position is, but did you recognize it's the dean from Community? the bald guy, and he's got the idea for the self-cooking hot dog with a chemical detonator embedded in the meat shaft.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But then he gets to the elevator, and it's Alfre Woodard, who later on went to do The Suicide Squad and Suicide Squad. She's there waiting for the elevator, and then they're just kind of idle chit chat with Tony. And after a little while, he realizes that she never pressed the elevator button, and you're like, uh-oh.
Right.
And he even she reaches into her purse, and he thinks that she's got a weapon or something, right?
Yeah.
But it's a picture of her son, and she lays into him about her son who died doing charity work in Sokovia when the whole Ultron thing went down, and he obviously didn't survive that. So that whole thing kind of came out of left field, and I feel like it really helps to ground Tony's motivations for this movie.
Oh yeah, no, I totally think it's probably it's why he took such a firm stance. The firm stance that he did about needing to get checked, right? Me personally, I don't get it. It's very clear that they did what they did to save the entire planet. Otherwise, that town coming down would have been an extinction level event, right? For at the speed that it was going. Right. At least if Ultron had his way, right, it would have been an extinction level event.
I don't disagree, but she's clearly still in grief, right?
No, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is it's clearly. I mean, for Tony as the genius, I feel like she's clearly in grief. So I don't know.
I will also point out that Tony is the reason that Ultron was created too. So it's kind of the whole thing is kind of his fault.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
Maybe more than kinda.
But that's because he never listens.
I know. In the next scene, we're at the Avengers compound. The TV's on. It's turned to the news. And the Wakandan king, T'Chaka, is talking about the destruction in Nigeria, which was the fight with Crossbones where Scarlet Witch accidentally blew up part of the building, right? Turns out that several Wakandan humanitarian workers were killed, amongst others, I would presume. And he's not happy about that.
I like that the scene right after that is Captain telling Wanda to go easy on herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
very nice.
He even tries to take the blame. He's like, he says he should have spotted the vest long before Rumlow blew it.
Yeah. Such a great guy.
Yeah,
Steve Rogers,
totally.
Man.
I want to hang out with him.
I feel like I would totally have Paul Rudd's reaction when meeting
You're
him.
really great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Vision walks through the wall and lets them know that Tony and Thunderbolt Ross are there.
Yeah, I like it when he walks through the wall and like Wanda's kind of like you can't do that, and he thought it was okay because the door was open.
Yeah. I probably would have thought the same, right?
Yeah. Side note here, something that came out of the commentary. Christopher Marcus, one of the writers, said that Vision doesn't wear clothes. He's always naked and everything is made from his skin. So like when he's got like the sweater vest on, it's just like something that he manifests.
Oh, right.
I thought that was interesting though, just to say that like he's always naked.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. I'll never think of it differently again.
Right. And now he's always naked doing it.
Yeah. So Tony's there with Thaddeus Ross, played again by William Hurt.
He did deliver the world owes the Avengers an unpayable debt line pretty nice.
Yeah.
But he started pointing out all the collateral damage and how the team basically goes around ignoring borders, which totally legit point.
It's fair.
And he starts showing them footage from New York, DC, Sokovia, and Lagos. I was actually surprised that they didn't show the damage from when the Hulk went nuts fighting the Hulkbuster armor.
I mean, that's probably the most damning incident too, because
it's the worst one.
Just them fighting amongst each other.
Right, and not even any reason for it too, right?
Because Scarlet Witch bedazzled or whatever. Bruce Banner. I forget what the right word is. Anyway.
Hexed him. Yeah. I like bedazzled better.
So Ross is saying, they've done 4 years of operating with unlimited power and no supervision, and the Avengers shall operate under the supervision of a UN panel.
Yeah. I like the Thunderbolts made a pretty good example where he was like, where are Thor and Banner? And he compares it to him losing a couple of megaton nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty apt.
Yep.
Pretty apt comparison.
So he thinks everyone should sign the Sokovia Accords, and this is where Tony and Cap butt heads. Tony thinks the Accords are a good idea, and I think he just doesn't want the guilt anymore. And I think this is a way for him to try to relieve himself from some of that.
Yeah.
Cap wants to fight it. He doesn't want the team to be neutered, so to speak.
He did actually exactly point out your point exactly too, Cap, Steve. Like he mentioned that we're just kicking the can of blame.
Oh yeah,
I think
that's in like the next
what you said.
The next scene, I think that's they were just shifting blame, something like that.
Oh
yeah.
Not
the very next scene, but like when it comes back to this, because we get a brief scene in Cleveland where Helmut Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl, tricks his way into some Russian dude's house, and it's pretty obvious that this guy is laying really low, and it's some former Hydra guy in hiding, and Zemo wants the mission report for December 16th, 1991. He tortures the guy for it. Doesn't get what he wants, but we do see that Zemo has the red notebook with the black star that has the words to activate the Winter Soldier in it, right?
Oh, I thought he got that book from this guy.
That was my recollection as well. But I'm pretty sure anyway. It makes sense for later that he tried to get the information from this guy. Like this is compared to what he does later on. This is a much more reasonable and easier attempt,
right?
Than the wild plan that he's about to enact.
Like this is a Batman level planning.
Yes. So back at the Avengers compound now, the team continues to debate the Sokovia Accords. Sam and Rhodey are butting heads about it, taking the sides that you would think. Vision sides with Tony.
I literally LOL'd when Vision goes, I have an equation. But his equation was actually pretty neat. And when he points out that
in the 8 years since Mr. Stark announced himself as Iron Man, the number of known enhanced persons has grown exponentially. And during the same period, the number of potentially world-ending events has risen at a commensurate rate.
He's saying it's our fault?
I'm saying there may be a causality. Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. And conflict breeds catastrophe. Oversight is not an idea that can be dismissed out of hand.
So then Tony tells them all about Charles Spencer, who's the kid who died in Sokovia volunteering to build sustainable housing for the poor, the woman at the elevator's son.
And Tony thinks that they need to be put in check because he thinks if they don't take limitations, if they're boundaryless, they're no better than the bad guys.
I kind of get it.
Huh?
I kind of get it.
Right. I don't disagree with it, but I also don't think that that's a reason to sign it, right? And Steve thinks exactly what you pointed out earlier, that the document just shifts the blame for their actions. And his examples are exactly like why I think you shouldn't sign, right? Like, what if the UN decides to send them somewhere that they don't think that they should go, or is against what they feel is right? Or what if there's somewhere that they feel they need to go, but the UN doesn't let them?
Right.
Like, that's a hell of a point.
It's kind of a no-win situation.
Right.
I'm with Captain America on this one, but it's really hard to pick a side because they both make good arguments. Tony suggests that if they don't do it voluntarily, then they'll be forced into it later, and it'll probably be worse. Black Widow agrees with Tony.
I'm sorry, did I just mishear you, or did you agree with me?
Oh, I want to take it back.
No, you can't retract it.
I really like that. That was funny.
Yeah, that was a really good exchange.
In the commentary, I think it was around this point, they made an interesting point. They said that Captain America is always the guy, or Steve Rogers, whatever. He's always the guy who's about always doing things by the book and following orders. And now he's the voice of dissent. He's saying, no, we should not be obeying this, right?
Right.
And Tony, who is kind of the rebel, is now in favor of following the rules. And so they've kind of switched places there, which, I mean, it's not a surprise to me, but I never really thought about it that way.
No, it's a good juxtaposition.
Yeah.
If I'm using that word correctly. I
believe, sure. I don't know. We'll say yes. If not, somebody email us about it. Right. So then Cap gets word that Peggy Carter has died. So he's off to the funeral. Sharon Carter is there, and she Googleizes Agent Carter.
I remember when she showed up, I was like, oh shit, it's the nurse from Captain America too. And then did you see Sam nudging Cap.
So wait, was it not established in The Winter Soldier that she's Sharon Carter's niece or grandniece or whatever?
Yeah, they didn't hint at it.
Really?
It wasn't until this.
Because she's like, well, I don't know. They give her, she gives her name. I guess Carter is pretty common, but I could have sworn that was already known. So I was a little confused by your comments, I guess, because I guess I wasn't paying attention enough to how they were surprised. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, no, I think the only thing that she said was that Nick Fury assigned her to watch his apartment.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it came up later, but maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Apparently
we're getting it blurred from watching having already watched the movies.
Yes.
Her eulogy, actually. I don't know if you remember the first Captain America episode we had.
I do.
But she quotes exactly that quote that I loved about that Captain America said.
Yeah.
And that was Captain America's actual Civil War dialogue to Spider-Man in the comic book.
Yeah.
And so when she said that, I was like, oh my God, I know that. I know that quote. But I ain't mad that Agent Carter's niece was the one that kind of took that line.
It was a good use of it, I thought.
Oh, for sure.
And actually, I looked. I guess that's from an Amazing Spider-Man comic of
the one where
Captain America or Steve Rogers talking to Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And I guess that was actually a variation of a Mark Twain quote.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways,
but I loved seeing that quote seeing that whole.
It's
thing.
a good one.
Yeah, and then Black Widow tells Cap that Tony, Vision, and Rhodey and her have all signed. And apparently Clint has decided to retire, and Wanda is still TBD. Black Widow is heading to Vienna to sign the accords. And she's just there to see if Cap needs a friend. I thought that exchange was really sweet.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ned. I can't sign it.
I know.
Well, then what are you doing here?
I didn't want you to be alone.
And I thought that they really became good friends in Captain America 2.
Yeah. We go to Vienna, and it's the UN conference with officials from 117 countries attending, and I'm going to name them all right now. Just kidding. They're there to ratify the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, I like this scene when Chadwick Boseman really comes into view.
Yeah.
And damn, it's still like just hella sad thinking the guy isn't around like when it pans away from him.
I know.
It's just like so many of the movies he was in so good, and every MCU movie he was in, he was just outstanding in. But yeah, we learned that T'Challa actually isn't a fan of the spotlight or diplomacy. He's outright states, I'm more of a man of action. And his whole quote with 2 people in a room can get more done than 100 was really a good one. And then his dad's retort about unless you need to move a piano was also a great one.
That's a total dad joke.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was but also like it's so weird how like those lines just kind of demonstrate the father-son thing so well, and just the way that those 2 actors spoke to each other or acted their lines out.
Yeah.
But yeah, T'Chaka's clearly proud and loves his son, and he remarks like really like how well T'Challa is just taken to diplomacy despite not liking it, you know. And then while he's giving a speech, T'Challa notices activity around a news van outside and tries to save his father, but it's too late.
Yeah. Kaboom. T'Chaka's dead. I do agree with you but I just wanted to double back for a second. The short amount of screen time that T'Chaka has with T'Challa, I think they did a great job of establishing that father-son relationship and their dynamic. That was well done. It was good writing and good acting.
Yeah.
Back at the lobby of the hotel that I guess everyone is staying at, it sure seems like Steve and Sharon Carter might finally bang, even though Cap is kind of blowing it by talking about dead Peggy Carter. I'm pretty sure that Sharon was about to go in for the kiss, but then Sam pops in and cockblocks her with the news about the bombing.
And then the 3 of them find out that Bucky happens to be the main suspect of the bombing.
Yeah, on the news, it says James Buchanan Barnes is the suspect. And then Sharon leaves to go check out the situation, apparently. I was a little confused by the geography here. I thought all the locations in this movie were very close by.
Right.
Because, like, one, I always forget how small Europe is, but, like, she'll leave whatever hotel they're at, and then like be outside of the bombing in Vienna. But weren't they just in London at a funeral, which is like a 4-hour flight, I think, away?
But they have Quinjet level technology.
All right, there you go. Fair enough. Right. I have no problems with this movie. Outside of the building where the explosion was, Black Widow talks to T'Challa, who says that he's going to kill Barnes himself. Then Cap checks in with Black Widow via a phone call, and then she hears the same police and ambulance sirens over the phone that she can hear around herself. So she knows he's nearby, and then she tells him to stay out of it and to not make things worse.
That's a hella cool detail for her to pick up so easily, right? But I mean, I guess if you're that level,
that's her training
in the spy game. It's just something, you know.
I should be the one to bring him in.
Why?
Because I'm the one least likely to die trying.
Which is like hella respect to Bucky as the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the hotel bar later, Sharon gives Steve the one tip that she thinks is actually probably a lead on a possible location of Bucky.
Yeah, and at this point, I was just remembering how further down the line in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, she turns out to be like a double agent or something like that. And she's like, or switches sides. I'm not sure. And like, it just makes even less sense.
She becomes the main bad guy, doesn't she?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. And I don't know why. Maybe because Cap left. She's like, I got nothing to live for.
He left her for her aunt.
Oh yeah, man, that's ice cold though. It's starting to make sense to me.
I still don't. Yeah, I just don't get that turn.
Yeah,
because like nothing in any of her roles up to that point even like foreshadowed that, right?
I agree.
Like she didn't kick a baby that was just hanging out on a porch.
Is that a tell? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Is that a red flag, George?
Right.
So, cut to Bucky getting some fruit at a stand in Bucharest, which is also not nearby. But if he was framed, as he says he was, that kind of makes sense at least. Somebody identifies him from the picture in the newspaper, and so he knows he's screwed. And Steve follows up on Sharon's tip and is checking out Bucky's shitty apartment.
And then it happens that Bucky just kind of materializes in the room, and he recognizes
He does come
Steve.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, he just they do make Bucky very much like Batman almost. But yeah, so he recognizes Steve, and it looks like he's more himself than he was in Captain America 2.
Yeah, he says he wasn't in Vienna and that he doesn't do that anymore. I've legitimately felt bad for Bucky here. You know, his brain has just been scrambled. You can tell that he is troubled by the things that he has done, and not wanting to have done that. Falcon is in Cap's earpiece, letting him know that German special forces are closing in. It's Police, the German police, but we're in Bucharest, which is in Romania. So I don't know what's going on there.
They're just randomness.
And the alleged crime was in Austria. So like if it was, I could kind of understand it if the crime was in Germany, they would send German special forces, but whatever.
Yeah. I did like that play-by-play of the Sam in his ear.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just while he's
telling
talking
him
to
how
Bucky
much time he has and stuff.
Yeah, it was basically like a countdown timer, but just the writing's so great.
You going to bed, bud?
Yeah,
all right.
night.
I love you. Good night.
Good night.
That's Uncle George. Good night. Love you. Make sure you close the door behind you, please. You all right? Okay. So I think you're up here.
Oh yeah. I like the back and forth where he's like, "This doesn't have to end in a fight, Buck."
This doesn't have to end in a fight, Buck. It always ends in a fight.
Then just like, boom, 2 grenades shoot through the window. Cap deflects one, and then Bucky kicks the other one towards Steve because he knows exactly what Steve's gonna do, and he shields them both from the blast with his shield.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's such a cool move, right?
Yeah. Do you think those were just flash grenades? Right? They weren't like.
Yeah, I think they were flash, but it was still would have disoriented them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm just saying, like, they weren't like lethal grenades, right?
Yeah.
Although they probably would have been smarter.
Right. Yeah, but then they wouldn't have been able to capture them alive, right? If they just lobbed a ton of grenades through the window. But yeah, Bucky and Cap just proceed to destroy the German special forces and barely break a sweat.
Yeah, it's a pretty great fight scene. The shaky cam is not nearly as bad in this one. Very tolerable for me. I had to laugh when Bucky throws Cap through the window at some Plutze.
Yeah. He just knows how to take advantage of Cap's weakness of just being a good guy, right?
Yes.
It's so funny. Like it's like great dirty fighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Bucky himself was just so smooth. I just like how he exhibits the super soldierness in him very well. Mm-hmm. Like just how smooth he was jamming that front door with the cheapo dining room table.
Oh yeah, he just flings it across the room into place.
Just and it slides right in.
Yeah.
It just perfectly where it needs to be. And he has that mattress that he like beats the crap out of the other guy who roping in. And then I think he beat somebody up with a big block of cement. like
a cinder block?
Like a cinder block. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then grabbing the battering ram with one hand and then using it to punch the shit out of everybody. I just thought that was like awesome.
Yeah. There was the fight choreography in this was really inventive. Right. Part of that is because they're like trying not to kill everyone or trying not to kill anyone. Right. So they had to be kind of creative with their takedowns, although Bucky's not trying as hard to not kill people as Cap was.
I like how they work in how Cap is just disapproving and shows how disappointed he is in Bucky when he has to save like the soldiers from falling down the stairwell.
Yeah, Cap catches him and he's like, he just looks over at Buck, he's like, come on, man. The part where Bucky like rips the railing out of the floor and then uses it to swing down to the lower level. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And then there's a part where he just drops and then like uses his bionic arm to catch onto a railing after he drops down a couple of floors. That was pretty cool.
I can't even imagine how you attach something so securely to organic pieces of you because like all that force in that arm.
I feel like that's something I should have picked up on and had a nerd gripe about, but it was too awesome.
It is too awesome. It's only like after the fifth watching of it that you start like noticing little things, but I totally forgive it.
Yeah,
because in the moment it's just awesome. Oh yeah, so then Bucky doing the running leap and then a keto roll to the building outside and scooping his bug out bag in one move was super slick.
Yeah,
and so was the shot of Black Panther's shadow landing right on top of him during that whole thing.
That's really cool. I did not catch that. I saw that in your notes and I was like, what is he talking about? And I went and looked and it's like 5 frames, but it's 5 really cool frames.
Yeah. Cause you're already like marveling at Bucky's landing and then you see that shadow.
Yep.
And that was pretty sick. And those claws are like crazy badass.
Yeah. There's a lot of good hand-to-hand fighting in this part of the scene.
Yep.
Steve and Sam join in.
Yeah, I love the part where Black Panther was chasing Bucky. Bucky just kind of jumps down, but Black Panther digs his claws into the wall and slows his fall all the way down.
Yeah.
That way. I thought that was so slick.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. And then that leads into like a awesome foot chase. Also, just in general, Black Panther looks awesome. The suit that he's in, the design of that is great. And I could swear it was all practical, but they said in the commentary that Industrial Light and Magic painted over every frame that he was in. I feel like it had to be touch up because I even looked for like behind the scenes footage and there's like raw footage of him in a suit that looks a hell of a lot like that suit.
Right.
But you can see like if he's like hunching over or whatever, it kind of bunches up in the middle. So I think that they must have just like smoothed it out some, but it was a cool design. I like that a lot.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that they did that much touching up.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably similar to what they do with Vision, right? It's like they got to get rid of all the pores on what's his name's face and stuff. Yeah.
This fight scene's up there in one of my favorite scenes. Watching them run down the street, outrunning the cars, shows just how like peak form all three of them are. And it reminds me of remember that scene in Infinity War that we were talking about earlier? Right. It totally reminds me of that scene where everybody's running towards Thanos' army. And Cap and T'Challa just are running so much faster than everyone else. They look like they're running with the same amount of effort, but they're just, you can see them outrunning everybody so much faster. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it's the same effort because like their legs run similar to like the speed at which their legs ambulate, I guess, seems to be the same as everybody else's, but their speed is just so much.
It's like the same cadence. Yeah.
Yeah, cadence.
The running past cars and in between them, and it should look dumb and fake, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
I think my only, not even gripe, my only comment is that it looks like the cars are driving a little slow, but not like slower than a normal human could run. Right. I thought that was done really well.
I'm embarrassed to even say this, but did you watch the Twilight series?
I'm embarrassed to say this. Yes.
Okay. So it's embarrassing for both of us. Yeah. So but the running there is stupid to me.
Yeah, I don't really remember it, but I do remember it being dumb.
Yeah, and this could have been that, but it wasn't.
No,
it's great. To your point, it was so well done. Yeah. Like it should look dumb, but running faster than the cars was.
I'm kind of curious as to how they did it without making it look stupid and or fake, but
I don't know.
Eventually, Cap gets lazy, quote unquote, and kind of commandeers a vehicle, right? He just gotta grab somebody out and starts driving it. And then shortly after that, Bucky causes they're in a tunnel, and he causes the exit of the tunnel to start collapsing. And Steve kind of turns the car so it skids sideways, and he just opens the door and runs out of the car as it's skidding to a stop. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Then pretty much everybody gets surrounded by special forces. Rhodey shows up in the Iron Patriot suit and tells everyone to stand down. And he says, "Congratulations, Captain, you're a criminal." Then Black Panther takes his mask off, and it's T'Challa. And I honestly don't remember if that was a surprise to me the first time or not.
Oh.
Did you know it was him?
Yeah, I knew it was him.
Okay. I knew it this time.
The part I was amazed at was it looked like Bucky and Cap were actually gonna still throw down with everybody.
Yes.
up until War Machine landed. This whole fight scene was just so crazy awesome to me, and that ending was so satisfactory.
Yeah,
especially that ending with War Machine landing and just lands with such force and authority and just stops everybody.
Yeah.
Though I'm not sure why Sam didn't just fly out of there, because if Sam took off, nobody would have been able to stop him except for War Machine. And War Machine would have had to leave, and then Cap probably would have been able to get away with Bucky.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe Falcon didn't want to punk out on Steve like that.
On Steve, yeah, maybe. No, I agree with you. The Black Panther suit was so cool.
Yeah, and I like this one, this practical one, a lot better than the nanotech kind of one that they have in the Black Panther movie, where it comes out of the necklace.
Yeah.
But I understand why they changed it for the movie. But
right. The tech had to change.
Yeah.
Or had to
I mean, I think it's a lot more difficult to be let me change into my Black Panther costume real quick every other scene, right? Than to just be hit a button and it just magically covers you. I get it. I can forgive that if the movie's good enough.
Right. They should have given Captain America a vibranium suit that comes out of the shield in his chest or something.
I don't know. I like that. Maybe. I don't know how I feel about that. So then back to Avengers headquarters again, and Vision is cooking for Wanda. This is not really a big critical scene, but there are a couple of things that I think we should highlight here.
You mean Vision wanting to get with Wanda?
I mean, I feel like it goes both ways.
Yes. I like her spirits lifted. Tiny hint of her accent appears there, and then it disappears again. Mm-hmm. I did find the dialogue great because it's Vision trying to explain things to Wanda to make her feel better about things, and him flubbing it up, and it's just kind of funny, and he talks about how not knowing what the Soul Stone on his head is, and I think he confirms that it powered Loki's staff and gave Wanda her abilities. So now I'm just curious about the whole so did the staff give her the abilities, or was she a mutant and then it just triggered her abilities or something?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was another thing that I picked up on, that he kind of verified that the Mind Stone gave her the abilities.
Right.
But yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Is she a mutant and was able to? I never thought about that. Side note, do you think that Vision can control people with the Mind Stone powers and he just chooses not to? Because I feel why
it's not just a laser beam, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one. Yeah. Do you think that he would be able to? But maybe being a machine, he can't. He doesn't have that ability to connect.
Well, but remember but Ultron was able to do it even through his like drones.
Yeah, his
that was
minions.
One of our gripes. Is like how could a machine, whatever, go back and listen to that episode.
So I guess he could. If Ultron was able to do it, then he should have.
I feel like he probably can't. Like, why wouldn't it still have that power, right? Or does it? Does it specifically need to be in the scepter in order to be able to do that? Which I don't know why that would be the case, but
yeah, that would make no sense.
Yeah, I choose to think that he probably could if he wanted to, but chooses not to because that doesn't sound like a nice thing to do.
Right, but he totally could have used that power in Infinity War when those guys attacked him. You could have just made them change their mind.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right.
This is
why'd you stab me? Heal me instead.
Yeah, could have like done a Jedi mind trick on him.
Right.
This is not the vision you were looking for.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh,
no worries. So yeah, then Wanda tries to leave to get Paprika, but the Vision won't let her.
Yeah, this is a rough one.
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
Alternatively, we could order a pizza.
Vision, are you not letting me leave?
It is a question of safety.
I can protect myself.
Not yours.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That is rough.
But then he kind of makes up for it.
And what do you want?
For people to see you as I do.
And I was just like, oh,
yeah,
they're totally gonna hook up.
That's kind of nice. So now Bucky is in custody at the Joint Counterterrorism Center.
Yeah, Bucky is in custody with hella security.
Yeah.
I do like Sam's like random digs at everybody in this movie. Like when he goes, so you like cats? To T'Challa.
Uh-huh.
It's like random like snippy sarcasm, and it's just kind of funny. He does it to him, he does it to Bucky a lot.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of that between him and Bucky.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Black Panther kind of tells Steve how it is. How the Black Panther has been the Wakanda's protector for generations, and now that Bucky has killed his father, he actually has to be both.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just lays out how serious he's taking it to Cap, and he basically lets Cap know, I'm not fucking around. And the somebody, I think Sam or somebody was talking about shields, and Natasha goes, technically it's government property, and the wings too. And Sam goes, that's cold.
Yeah.
And Tony goes, it's warmer than jail. And I was like, all these like little one-liners and clips are so good.
Well, and later on, Sharon Carter gives Cap and Sam like receipts for their confiscated equipment, and Sam looks at his and he's like, bird costume.
That made me LOL too.
Yeah.
That was funny.
So this is where Everett Ross, played by Martin Freeman, comes in. He's the deputy task force commander in charge there. No relation to Thaddeus Ross, I guess. Just same last name.
Right. And then Tony shows Steve a pair of pens that FDR used to sign the 1941 land lease bill, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that was bad judgment on his part. He thought it'd be cool for Steve to sign the Accords with one of those. Like, what a knob.
It was a well-intentioned gesture.
I think he was reaching, but I do feel sorry for him, though. Like, he just can't stop himself.
Right.
And then this is where you find out that he and Pepper are on a break. He's telling this to Cap.
Yeah.
He's hoping that the Accords would split the difference. So that's kind of good additional motivation for Tony in this movie. He also he makes a comment that I thought was interesting. I never really thought about it, but apparently Howard Stark always mentioned Captain America to Tony and like how he knew Captain America and worked with him. And Tony hated Captain America because of that, which kind of explains a lot in the first Avengers movie. Tony was always kind of shitty to him.
I imagine he's jealous because Cap got to work side by side with his dad.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's it's definitely just a jealousy thing.
But like, it's nice that they're having a difficult convo.
Yeah.
And it's clearly like they clearly both respect each other.
Yeah.
Though Steve was super close to signing, and right up until he asked about Wanda. And then when Tony said something about they don't grant visas to weapons of mass destruction, I was just like, ouch.
Yeah. He could have phrased that differently.
Yeah, he totally could have. And the line that Steve gives him when he returns the pen of like, I'd hate to break up the set, I like, double ouch. they're both trying really hard to find that middle ground, and it's almost sad that it keeps failing.
So this next part has a lot of interesting intercutting between what's happening with Bucky as well as where it's happening with Captain America, Sam, Tony, Black Widow, and Sharon, and then also a special delivery, which we haven't seen yet in this movie. Bucky's in some kind of a containment unit while a psychiatrist talks to him. And we don't see the doctor's face at first. We just hear him talking to Bucky over the intercom, and we can kind of see him from behind on the TV screens where Steve and Sam and everybody else are kind of watching from. And it just seems like a normal psych evaluation at first. Steve thinks that maybe Bucky was framed, and Sharon says that wouldn't guarantee whoever framed him would get Bucky. It would only guarantee that they would get him, meaning the what's it called? I just wrote JCTC, Joint Counterterrorism Center.
I was about to say SHIELD.
And that's when Steve realizes that something's hinky. So then we cut to the package delivery. It's a big crate, and the guy who's the recipient doesn't know what's going on because it's not really for him, it's for the location. And it turns out that it's an EMP device, electromagnetic pulse device, that goes out and it knocks out the power grid that's right next door to whatever business this is. I guess it's probably the power plant that it was delivered to. And so that, of course, knocks out the electricity for the Joint Counterterrorism Center. Now we find out that the psychiatrist is actually Helmut Zemo, not a doctor, and he starts to activate Bucky with the code words. And the captions gave it away early, so I would be mad if I hadn't seen this before, because it just, it keeps saying that it's Helmut saying things before that. Then Bucky starts to literally break free. Like he's just breaking this cage apart, but he can't quite do it in time, like just not in time. And Zemo gets the last word out, and Bucky says, ready to comply. And Zemo just says,
Mission report, December 16, 1991.
That was a great scene though, right? Like
it's intense.
Because he almost like that containment unit was almost broken. And all he had to do was actually try.
He got out just as the last word was being spoken.
Right.
He was like, just didn't quite do it in time.
Yeah. So then Cap and Sam make their way down there because they know something's up. And Bucky is there ready to beat them both down. And it's Bucky, the one that is following orders, not their old pal Bucky. Cap catches Zemo, and Zemo tells him he just wants to see an empire fall. And then Zemo escapes because Bucky keeps both of them busy.
Yeah, he first attacks Sam, and then I should probably try to refer to him as the Winter Soldier, I guess, if he's in Winter Soldier mode. So the Winter Soldier attacks Sam, then Steve fights the Winter Soldier while Sam goes after Zemo. It's a little bit shaky cam, but again, a lot better than the beginning. Mm-hmm. Tony's like, I didn't bring the right kind of suit. Like, it's kind of a joke, right? He was wearing like a suit and tie suit. Right. He says he's active duty, non-combatant, but he does have a cool like glove repulsor thingy that comes out of his watch.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of the start of his nanotech suit, maybe, I guess. And I feel like that makes it a little easier to accept that suit for me in Infinity War. So he uses that repulsor glove to blast the Winter Soldier and then cover up the gun barrel when Bucky tries to shoot him in the face. Like he just like covers the gun barrel and essentially catches the bullet. And I mean, for Tony to, regular dude Tony, I mean, he's a genius, right? But he doesn't have any superpowers or anything. All he has is that one glove. He was a hero here, stepping in.
Yeah. Right. Even like knowing that he's probably going to get his ass handed to him. And despite that, still going up against him.
At best.
Right. Yeah. Do you ever notice that like every movie that Tony's in, his tech always improves?
Oh, yeah.
By like leaps and bounds.
Yeah. I mean, that actually kind of bothers me some.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some of it is like, it's a new movie. You got to have new stuff. Right.
Right.
But here I really liked it. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Bucky pretty much beats down Tony really easily, and then Sharon and Natasha show up to tag team him, and he's about to choke Natasha out, and then T'Challa actually saves her. It's just awesome seeing him go toe to toe with two highly trained agents, and then going toe to toe with T'Challa. And it's obvious that T'Challa's got something special if he can go toe to toe with Bucky. And that's without his Black Panther armor.
Yeah.
He didn't get a chance to go, like, let me take 5 while I put on my suit.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was saying about for the Black Panther movie. You can't be doing that all the time, so they had to make it faster.
Right. And then the scene, the famous scene from this movie of Captain America stopping Bucky from taking off by literally holding onto the landing pad and one of the landing skids with the other. And it's just kind of impressive.
It's awesome.
And clearly the guy works out a lot. Chris Evans worked out a lot for this movie.
Yeah. I love it when Cap holds the helicopter in place.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but I still love it.
Right.
And like, especially when he switches his grip.
Yeah.
Because he's holding it like, I think both palms facing down, and then he switches it so he can like do it more like a bicep curl. It's awesome. That was a nice touch. And then Bucky tries to take him out by crashing the chopper into him at first.
Right.
And then he like tries to choke him out. Right. Yep. They both end up going over the edge of the rooftop into some water. Bucky gets knocked out. Cap saves him. And it's kind of a nice reversal of the end of the Winter Soldier where Bucky saves him in the water.
Yep.
Then we cut to Zemo at an airport. I'm pretty sure it's an airport. And he's on his phone, and it seems like his wife is giving him an update on what's happening at home with their kid. She wants him to try to get home for their son's birthday. Did you know that that's the voice actress is Anne Russo?
I had no idea.
Yeah, Anthony Russo's wife.
Nice.
Here's where we get the scene that was at the end of Ant-Man. Bucky wakes up with his arm in an industrial press or something, and he's back to regular Bucky. He's not in Winter Soldier mode. He tells Steve and Sam that Zemo wanted to know about Siberia, and which is where Bucky was kept. And then he says that he's not the only Winter Soldier, which is kind of a big deal.
Right.
And I love this. It's a really good misdirect because at this point you're like, oh, Zemo wants to activate a bunch of Winter Soldiers, right? And have them wreak havoc or whatever.
I mean, especially the way that he described them, right? Like, you can send one of these guys into a country and it destabilizes it altogether.
Yeah. So Cap says that they could use some help, but who can they trust? And Sam knows a guy. Back at the Joint Counterterrorism Center, Ross tells Tony that he'll take them all out by force if he has to, referring to Steve, Bucky, and Sam. Tony bargains for 36 hours to bring them in himself. Then he talks to Natasha. He's like, we're short-staffed and we could sure use the Hulk right now. And I disagree because I just feel like that's going to be too much collateral damage. Black Widow doesn't think that Bruce would even be on their side, even if she knew where he was. But she has an idea, and so does Tony. Black Widow goes and recruits T'Challa, which is an easy recruitment, right?
Yeah. I like that move or be moved line from T'Challa's bodyguard to Natasha, and how amused T'Challa was when Black Widow and his bodyguard were just staring each other down.
Oh, right. Yeah. So while she's doing that, Tony goes to the Bronx.
Yeah.
Not the Bronx, Queens. It was Queens. Sorry.
And Tom Holland debuts as the new MCU Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah. I just love this guy. And Marissa Tomei debuts as Hot Aunt May.
So Sally Fields didn't do it for you?
I mean, she wasn't bad, but Marissa Tomei, come on.
Yeah, no, she's always good, and she's an awesome Aunt May. Peter comes home from school to find Aunt May talking with Tony on the couch, and I love how Tony like fakes that he and Peter know each other,
right?
For her sake, I guess. And I also love that all the Uncle Ben and Bit by Radioactive Spider stuff is skipped over. Like, it barely even gets a nod. Like, they kind of mention it at one point, right?
Right.
Tony and Peter talk in private in Peter's bedroom, and Tony lets him know that he knows that Peter is Spider-Man.
Right. He's also making fun of him, too. And then I like I like
it's such a great scene.
Right? It's just it totally establishes their whole, like, mentor, mentee, father, son, like almost like relationship, right? And it makes what happens to Tony so painful for Peter.
Yeah.
In Endgame, right? But I love how Tony tosses like the webbing cartridges at Peter, and he just catches them without even looking.
Right.
And then he makes fun of him with his suit and how he needs an upgrade.
Yes. Yeah. I like how he calls the homemade spider suit a onesie.
Right. That's so funny. But yeah, and then when Tony asks Peter why he's doing this, you almost expect the "with great power comes great responsibility" speech, but Peter hasn't gotten that speech yet. And so, but his response to Tony is still just as great.
Wasn't that speech given to him by Uncle Ben, though? I mean, maybe not in this universe or whatever. So,
yeah,
but
just not in this universe. Yeah.
Anyways, he's got a great heart, and when Tony asks him why is he doing this, right? As you said, he says,
"Look, when you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen. They happen because of you."
And I like that better, I think, than the "with great power comes great responsibility."
Yeah, no, totally. The great power with great power comes great responsibility. Like that probably fits better on a T-shirt.
Yes,
but I like this answer a lot.
I'm gonna sidetrack us for a second.
Yeah,
I heard something. Did you say you watched Madam Web?
I did. I fucking hated it.
Yeah. I'm probably never going to watch it, but I heard that they reworded the "with great power comes great responsibility" line in that. And it's like, with great responsibility comes great power, I think.
Oh my God, I totally missed that line.
And I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
I don't know. I heard that on another podcast. But anyways.
It was bad. There's so many poor things about that movie.
All right. Sorry I brought it up. So there's another line here where Peter Parker's on the bed. He's got his leg up on the bed, and Tony goes to sit down. He's like, "I'm going to sit here, so you move the leg." And that was apparently ad-libbed because Tom Holland forgot the blocking for the scene, and he wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to have both his legs off the edge of the bed, right? And so then Robert Downey Jr. just kind of threw that out in character, and they just kept rolling. So,
right.
But I thought it works great. I never would have known if they hadn't said anything.
Right. No, their chemistry is great as Tony and Peter.
So yeah, Tony recruits him to his team. I feel a little bit like he manipulated him into it a bit, because he's kind of like star power or whatever.
Right. And he's a kid.
Yeah. But I guess he can handle himself. So turns out that Hawkeye is also in this movie, and I guess we skipped over the part where he got roped into this.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. He creates that diversion to distract Vision, and then the Vision comes back before they can even escape.
Yeah, he's pretty quick.
Yeah. But Hawkeye's trap wasn't that great, and it was actually kind of laughable like how underpowered Hawkeye is when he fights somebody like Vision, especially with like when Vision goes intangible and he just can't do anything.
Yeah, I like that word, intangible, because I didn't really have a good word for it. I was saying like that he would like phase shift or something. I assume you already decided that non-fungible wasn't good.
Yeah. We can leave.
I love that. What's that? Yeah, I love that though. When he does that, when he becomes intangible and like Clint punches, and he's like trying to hit him with the arrow, and then it all just goes right through him. It made for an interesting fight. Yep.
I forget the phrasing, but Clint basically says, "Yeah, I know I can't beat you," and he basically says, "But she can."
Yeah.
And Scarlet Witch just fucks him up by increasing his mass to a point where he just sinks through the floor. He just keeps going and going and going to like, I don't know, China. But he just keeps going.
If I know anything about geography, it must have been to China.
Right.
I thought it was an interesting idea that she can manipulate him because of the connection to the Mind Stone.
Oh, is that why? Is that what they were saying?
Yeah, I mean, because that's what
I thought that was just her power.
That is what I assumed and was verified, I think, in the commentary. But
nice.
One of the writers, Christopher Marcus, also said that what you said, she's not forcing him through the floor, she's making him unbelievably heavy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I already knew that. And I also feel like that should bother me because that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But I don't know, magic, right?
Chaos magic.
Yeah. but also magic bothers me. So
Right.
Stay tuned for Doctor Strange.
Clint pulled a Steve Jobs and said, "Come on, we have one more stop."
One more thing. Then we go to under an overpass. Sharon Carter's meeting up with Steve and Bucky and Falcon. She gives Cap his shield back and gives the Falcon suit back. And I forgot that Steve kisses Sharon here.
Yep.
At least he had the decency to wait for Peggy to die.
Fair. Yeah. Sam going, "Can you move your seat up?" And Bucky going, "No." It just made me laugh for some reason.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's their exchanges are pretty good.
Right.
They go meet Clint and Scarlet Witch, who also have Ant-Man with them. And I wonder a little bit how Hank Pym felt about Scott Lang using the Ant-Man suit for this. But since they're going against Tony Stark, I think that's something he would approve of.
Yeah. There wasn't really much time after this fight, right? For him to know what was going on.
That's true too.
Cap's side now has 3 people: Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye recruited to his side.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of funny that there's only one woman on both sides. Just like, come on, guys, get more female heroes. But I guess they addressed that in Endgame.
Yeah, I don't know if are there any more right now that we know of.
Not well, because Ant-Man 2 didn't happen yet, and
right.
And what do you call it? The Wasp shows up in Ant-Man 2. But I don't know what else. I guess Marvel, Miss Marvel,
yeah, or Captain Marvel.
Marvel, yeah.
Yeah, that's not till after Infinity War.
Yeah. Anyway, Scott Lang, super amusing. It's thought his entrance is always funny.
Yeah.
I'll always be a Paul Rudd fan.
I'm shaking your hand too long. Wow, this is awesome.
Captain America. I know you too. You're great.
Right?
Like a little kid. So their plan is to take a chopper that's at the airport, but the airport gets locked down.
Was that the plan? Because I thought that the actual plan was they knew that Iron Man and everybody was going to be there, and they were counting on them to bring a Quinjet, and they were going to steal the Quinjet.
When they meet up with Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye and Ant-Man, and they're like, okay, something to the effect of like, the chopper is at the airport. Or like,
right.
We have a helicopter at the airport or something like that. And then Bucky's like, yeah, the airport just got locked down.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was always like the fake plan for some reason.
Maybe.
But anyway, Cap makes a run at the helicopter. Iron Man and War Machine are right there to stop him. Mm-hmm. And Tony's side just kind of arrived in style. And then Spider-Man surprised everybody and apparently loves his new suit.
Yeah, I think it's cool, the new suit. But right. I feel like it's also a little fake looking. Like it's probably the most fake looking thing in the movie. I don't know what it is about it. It's right. just not quite right.
It doesn't move,
but it is cool. Tony and Rhodey show up, and Tony's like, "Wow, it's weird how you run into people at the airport."
He's definitely pissed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of good debating between the sides, and that eventually escalates into a great fight.
Right.
So let's talk some of the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I just kind of alluded this to earlier. Mm-hmm. Once they find the Quinjet, Cap gives a signal, and then Ant-Man surprises the shit out of everybody because he was hiding in the shield.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, then you had like the lineup of both sides. They run towards each other and clash. I like that a lot better than like the lineup of the heroes at the beginning of the Avengers, where they're running through the woods. You know, I thought like this looks a lot better and is more earned.
Yeah.
With the fighting, surely they got to be pulling their punches, except for maybe Black Panther and Bucky.
Right. Well, I mean, didn't Scarlet Witch accuse Clint of that?
Yeah.
When she knocked out Natasha, and she was like, "You were just pulling your punches."
That's true. Yeah.
I like how Captain America and Black Panther go at it, Ant-Man and Black Widow go at it, and that was a funny fight. And then Spider-Man takes on both Sam and Bucky, and man, yeah. Way to go, overachieving Peter Parker.
Falcon has a line to Spider-Man at one point.
I don't know if you've been in a fight before, but there's usually not this much talking.
He's like very clearly a great recruit on Tony's side because he's taking on 2 seasoned warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he held his own super easily.
Yeah.
And he was in a good mood the whole time.
Very polite.
Right.
Polite young man.
And then you've got Iron Man versus Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch. And I like the whole Scarlet Witch just being pissed and drops a whole bunch of cars from the garage on Tony.
Yes.
When he gets distracted.
Yes, I like it too. And he's got the new AI assistant called Friday.
Multiple contusions detected.
Yeah, I detected that too.
That's so funny. Bucky tells Black Panther he didn't kill his father, but Black Panther responds with, "Then why did you run?" And he's about to beat him up when Scarlet Witch stops him. And then Captain America versus Spider-Man. Peter is clearly a very formidable foe, even for like somebody like Captain America.
Yeah.
But then Captain America is his experience totally shines in that whole fight. The little 1v1s were pretty great. And then Iron Man having Ant-Man in his suit. And Ant-Man just going,
without having to go quantum.
Yeah, just going, "Oh, you're gonna have to take this into the shop," and then and just kind of wrecking shop in this suit. I thought it was pretty funny. And then Ant-Man growing into Giant Man. That was such a holy shit moment, and was totally worth the price of admission for that fight. And Spider-Man's holy shit pretty much captured that moment.
Did you notice though that his regulator is on his arm now, and it's like a touch screen? He's like,
"Oh, I didn't notice that."
Yeah.
Is that because is that because he wants so he can grow and shrink and so he can control?
I guess. I don't know.
Huh.
But
Yeah,
that
no,
was totally different from the first Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's like in the second one.
Yeah, I don't remember. The second one was pretty unmemorable for me. And
yeah.
The third was a sad thing for me.
It's memorable for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Did you like Tony saying, "Anybody on our side hiding any shocking and fantastic abilities they'd like to disclose?"
Yeah.
Right after Ant-Man went to like gigantic. That was funny.
That was good.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Spider-Man steals all the scenes that he's in. He did that Star Wars maneuver, and with Iron Man and War Machine's help, he kind of just took Ant-Man down himself.
Yeah.
With that whole plan.
Yeah. Yeah, Wanda helps Cap and Bucky get away. Black Widow regretfully helps out too. She ends up stunning T'Challa to give them some time to get away in the Quinjet that Tony and his team arrived in. Or I guess Tony's team arrived in. I'm sure Tony just flew in his suit.
Right.
Spider-Man takes down giant Ant-Man like an AT-AT in Star Wars, as you were saying. And then I like it when Scott falls down, shrinks back down to normal size. He's like, "Does anyone have any orange slices?" It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Rhodey gets accidentally blasted by Vision and falls and breaks his spine. And, there are real consequences in this movie. And that scene gives me chills, man. Where it's just like, he gets hit. You know it was an accident. You know he's in trouble. And he's just like spinning out of control and hits the ground. And I got a little chill right now just talking about it.
And he hits it hard, too.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, at the height that he was at, like, why isn't he even dead?
Oh, yeah, he should have been a pile of goop.
Right. That's what I was wondering. It was just such a heartbreaking scene that you were like, why doesn't, like, I guess it doesn't make sense to put a parachute in that thing because it's probably too heavy for a parachute even.
Probably, but I don't know.
But like gel or something, or some kind of foam that like pops up around you. And safety measures were definitely not really thought of in the Iron Man suits. But yeah, I think Bucky was actually feeling bad about Steve's friends all getting taken out, and that was kind of a sad line when he was like, "I don't know if I'm worth all this, Steve."
Yeah, I felt bad for him there.
Yeah.
So I think they're tying up some loose ends in this next scene. Zemo, on his way to Siberia, stops to call the hotel that he had been staying at one point and order room service so that the lady who brings it finds a dead body in the tub, and that's the psychiatrist that he took the place of.
Right.
I guess that was kind of necessary, and it's a very brief scene, so it doesn't really matter. But the psychiatrist is played by Joe Russo, and I guess played by is he just laid there dead in a tub.
Right.
But that's one of the directors.
I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, and they said in the commentary, Anthony Russo in the commentary said that at one point Daniel Bruhl came up to him and was like, "So I've killed your brother and married your wife." That's pretty good.
That's great. it's kind of sad. So Rhodey is just in bad shape. He's probably going to be paralyzed. Natasha and Tony are not good friends right now, and they're just having words with each other.
Yeah, they're pretty unhappy about the situation. Yeah, Rhodey has a shattered L4 through S1, which is a lot of things to shatter, with extreme laceration, extreme laceration of the spinal cord. And yeah, like we were saying, like he's lucky to be alive at all and not just a pile of meat.
Right. And then Friday confirms with Tony that Baron Zemo actually exists and that everything was orchestrated by him. And it's possible that Tony is feeling like they got played.
Yeah. Yeah. The intelligence came from Berlin police saying that the fake doctor was identified as Zemo and that Zemo had run Echo Scorpion, a Sokovian covert kill squad. Do you remember that trivia question? Because I do. I don't remember which episode, but I remember getting asked that and I had no idea.
No idea. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Zemo gets to the Winter Soldier storage facility in Siberia via a snowcat and gets inside with the key code from the Red Book. And then we see at least 5 cryo chambers. I couldn't really tell how many there were. In each one, there's a Winter Soldier in suspended animation.
So it turns out Steve's Avengers, or Steve's half of the Avengers, are all imprisoned at the raft. And it's a pretty slick looking underwater facility. And when Tony gets there to chat with the other Avengers, it's just sad because like everybody hates him now, basically.
Rightfully so.
And Clint is pissed, and they have words.
Yeah, and like it's kind of a low blow by Clint. He's like, "Watch your back with this guy. There's a chance he's gonna break it."
Right.
Like, ooh.
Yeah. Totally sticking the
too
knife
soon,
in.
Clint. Too soon.
I like Tony going, "Who are you again?" when he passes Scott. That made me laugh.
Yeah. So Tony wants to get information from them as to where Cap might be. And this movie expertly walks the line. Tony's kind of the bad guy, but he's not, right?
Right.
And it's hard to feel one way or the other about it. Sam does eventually end up giving Tony some intel after Tony temporarily knocks out the audio surveillance and explains that he was wrong and that Cap is in danger. And Tony tells him that he'll go alone as a friend. So then Tony tells Thunderbolt Ross that he's going back to the compound. I don't know what that is. I guess that's the Avengers facility.
Right.
And his chopper goes back to the compound, but he suits up and flies to Siberia.
Yeah, that autopilot helicopter he's in is pretty slick. I really like that sequence where he armors up and then ejects out of the butt of the helicopter to go find Steve.
It's another new suit though, right?
Yeah.
It's like all the suits are one use.
Right. It's like Mark 89.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling because it's like he's gonna go save his buddy, and then it's like too bad because T'Challa's right behind you.
Yeah.
Just following along.
Yep. T'Challa's on his tail. Cap and Buck arrive at the Winter Soldier facility in Siberia. It's open because Zemo's already there, and they go in.
Yeah, the timing over here on this thing was just weird to me because like Iron Man basically shows up and he's right behind them. Right when they get in, right? Like, because he went to the raft. He had to find the raft first, be told of where it was. He went there in the autopilot helicopter on top of that, not in his armor.
Mm-hmm.
And then he left the helicopter to go find, where Steve was. So, like, unless everything was just happening to... I guess I'm confused
it's
at the
worse.
timing of
I don't think
events.
it's any worse than the London to Vienna to Bucharest.
Fair.
But
Tony does end up admitting he was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really good dialogue here. Tony's like, you seem a little defensive. And he seems to believe them now. And I think that he really does believe them.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot said here with body language and glances than with words.
Right.
So they all go into the storage chamber. And I really wish... If I had a magic lamp, I would waste one of my wishes. I wish that this could be a surprise to me again. Because plot twist, all the Winter Soldiers have been killed in their cryotubes. And the first time I saw this, I was like, what the actual is going on? And Zemo killed them all in their sleep. And like the stakes of this movie are huge, but in a completely atypical way.
Right.
Can you imagine how much less cool this would have been if they just had to fight and kill 5 Winter Soldiers instead?
No, I had that same exact like thought as you. I was like, what the hell's going on?
Right. That is what. So I had that thought, and then later on found out that is what the studio execs wanted. They wanted, they wanted them to, Tony and Cap and Bucky, to come together to fight, the Winter Soldiers, and like that would have just been like so not stereotype, like just the standard trope.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Predictable.
Yes. But both the directors, both the writers, and Feige were just like, no way, we are not going to make that movie.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Sometimes it's these execs, man, these studio execs. They
yes.
Like, I think I saw a quote by a studio exec from DC on Warner Brothers, saying that they know what would make DC better than Marvel, and it's that they're grittier. And he literally said, we're way grittier. And
edgier. I think it means edgier.
Yeah, the word he used was grittier, because I think everybody was commenting about how gritty Batman was when Nolan was doing it. That's when I was like, yeah, oh no, 100%.
Anyway, Zemo traps the 3 of them in the room, and Cap is trying to reason with Zemo and correctly guesses that he lost someone, and Zemo says, I lost everyone. Mm-hmm. And that's heartbreaking, man. Like, I feel bad for the guy in that moment, and I understand why he wants revenge. Zemo says that he wants to crumble the Empire from within so that it's dead forever. And then he plays a tape onto a TV that's in the chamber with Tony, Bucky, and Steve. And it's video surveillance of the December 16th, 1991 hit that Bucky did. And this is the twist of all twists. Definitely the biggest plot twist in the MCU. It's like, it's up there for maybe all movies that I've seen.
Is this the equivalent of I Am Your Father?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's something I've known since I was like 4, so hard to say for sure. But the twist is that it's Tony's parents that the Winter Soldier killed.
Yep. And,
I kind of forgot that technically Howard Stark knew Barnes, because like they show the whole thing now, and the Winter Soldier is dragging him out, and he's like Barnes, like he knows him.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because he did know him, right? Before he fell down.
He did.
And died.
Yeah. I mean, they are in at least one scene together in
Captain America.
The First Avenger, Captain America, the First Avenger.
Right. I like the Tony's did you know? And apparently Cap knew, but just didn't realize it was Bucky. But then he figured it was Bucky, and just knowing that just sets Tony off.
Yeah, dude, this is an intense scene. Like, there's everybody. I don't know how they do it. Like,
right.
The acting in it is so good, and it's a comic book. Right. It has no right being this good. Yeah, Cap didn't know that it was Bucky.
Right.
And at first he says, I didn't know it was him. And then he's like, and then Tony asks again, did you know? And he says, yes.
Yeah.
And so I was looking into it some, and in The Winter Soldier, the artificial intelligence Zola computer, right? Mm-hmm. Shows him the newspaper headline, Howard and Maria Stark die in car accident.
Right.
And then he's like, accidents will happen, right?
Right.
So I think he figured it out, but he didn't know for sure and didn't want to know, right?
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Zemo's plan worked, right? Tony, totally. Bucky, and Cap, they just brawl it out. And what follows is the best 3-way fight ever.
It's great. It's amazing choreography.
Yeah.
Like, I was trying to just list some highlights. And I'm like, all of it?
Yeah, there's no highlights for this. All of it's awesome.
All of it is a highlight. There is a line that Tony says to Bucky. He's like, do you even remember them? And Bucky's like, I remember all of them.
Right.
And it's like, my God, like, that's heavy.
But it sucks being Bucky.
Yes.
Right.
The last part of the fight scene, where it's just a super tight, coordinated fight between the 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I like when Bucky's trying to rip the arc reactor out of the chest of Tony's suit, and then Tony just blasts his arm off with it. And then there's the double repulsor blast versus Cap's vibranium shield, right? Like, they're just against one another. And the way that shot is framed is awesome. And like, I was like, that's got to be out of the comics, right? And then I looked into it, and of course it is. And so I'll put this into the MP3 file so people can see it. But that's like the comic on the bottom and the scene from the movie on the top. It's pretty awesome.
Yep.
They did a great job there.
All of it's just so good.
Yeah.
Especially the that part you were mentioning about when Bucky was trying to remove the arc reactor and then gets his whole arm blasted off.
Yes.
And then the part where he was analyzing Steve's fighting style so that he can fight it. Like, it's just so good.
Yep. That's pretty cool. So then while they're fighting, it does cut to Zemo outside for a moment, and he's on the phone again, and his wife is saying the exact same things before, and it turns out it was a voicemail.
Right.
T'Challa shows up and approaches Zemo and talks to him, and this is when we find out that Zemo's wife, his kid, and his father all died in Sokovia. And like, just writing that into the notes, and even just now talking about it, like I'm like getting chills and like sad about it.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for this dude.
No, like I think that's one of the reasons. Like, he's such a great villain because he did all of this, and I don't fault him for it, right? Like, if
I would
I lost my whole family,
if yeah, exactly. I would not stop.
Yeah.
Like, I would be destroyed. Yeah, he said it took 2 days to find their bodies. It's just like all this horrible stuff that happened.
Yeah.
So his plan was to turn the Avengers against each other because he's like,
I knew I couldn't kill them. More powerful men than me have tried. But if I could get them to kill each other.
this is diabolical, man. That's
I'm telling you, like, that's why I said earlier, it's like, it's Batman level planning.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
To get people this smart and this like principled to turn on each other. It's crazy. Like, it's the perfect wedge between all of them.
Yeah, I agree totally. So T'Challa has a great line here. He says, I'm not going to try to do the accent.
Yeah.
I'll probably put the line in.
Vengeance has consumed you. It's consuming them. I'm done letting it consume me.
And he's like, justice will come soon enough. And then Zemo tries to ventilate his own head with a bullet under the chin, but T'Challa stops it with the glove of his vibranium suit. So that's like the second time in the movie where somebody has stopped a bullet with their hand.
Right. I was laughing because Ryan Reynolds' voice played that quote about breathe through your forehead.
Oh, yeah. I guess I sort of borrowed that. Yeah. So Iron Man and Captain America are still fighting. Bucky's out. He's got no arm.
Right.
At one point, Steve says, he's my friend. And Tony says, so was I.
Right.
Which is kind of sad, but also like, you weren't that close and you weren't friends for nearly that long.
Right. You could tell he was hurt though.
Yes, totally. I don't know how I had forgotten about this. I remembered like right as it was happening though, but Tony tells Cap to stay down. He's like, stay down, final warning. And Cap gets up, ready to fight, and goes,
I could do this all day.
Right.
Like that callback. I forgot that I was in this. And then Cap almost takes Tony's head off with the shield. Like, it looks like he's going to kill him with it.
Right.
But ultimately, he just busts the arc reactor in the suit. There's that similar shot in Falcon and the Winter Soldier with U.S. Agent, right?
Yeah.
But he actually does take that guy's head off with the shield.
Yep.
So now Tony's like incapacitated in the suit. The arc reactor's busted.
Yep.
So Steve is helping Bucky walk away, and Tony is like, you don't deserve that shield. It doesn't belong to you. My father made it. And it's kind of like petulant, childy, but
right.
Not in a whiny way. It still ends up being kind of cool. And then Cap just drops the shield.
Yeah.
And that's like pretty dark, basically end to the movie.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's awesome.
No, it's hard to. It's such a good ending, even though it's as dark as it is, right? Like Tony can't move because the arc reactor powering the entire suit is basically busted. He's just stuck there. Just give me back that shield. Like there's nothing you can do except like just yell at him, and it's just sad. Especially like knowing how both of them are like, well, we at least respected each other before, and now now it's totally over. There's
definitely some damage that's been done.
Right.
in the aftermath, we have Zemo in the same kind of containment unit that Bucky was in at the Joint Counterterrorism Center. And Martin Freeman is there just kind of being a dick to him. And he's Martin Freeman's character, I forget his name already, but he says, I forgot. How does it feel? He says, how does it feel to spend all that time planning and executing to have it fail so spectacularly? And Zemo says, did it? Right. And I agree. I don't think he failed at all. I mean, he wanted them to destroy one another or kill one another, I think, but they have they are completely against one another now. There's been potentially irreparable damage done. I guess we know now that it's not irreparable, but
right. It just took a really, really much bigger threat.
Rhodey has like a lower body exoskeleton thing that he's learning to use. Clearly, Tony designed that for him. Mm-hmm. He still thinks signing the Accords was the right thing to do. And then there's a package delivery.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite of all of Stan Lee's cameos. Is Tony Stank here?
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank. You're in the right place. Thank you for that. Never dropping that, by the way.
That's good. Yeah. And Rhodey won't let that go either.
Right.
So it's a package from Steve, and Tony reads the letter. We get the voiceover from Steve. Amongst other things, he apologizes for not telling Tony about his parents. I mean, correct to apologize about it, but when was he supposed to bring that up?
Right.
He says that I know you're doing what you believe in, and that's all any of us can do. Very Captain America thing to say. And then while that is going on, while that voiceover is going on, you see on the raft Captain America breaking out Wanda and Sam and Clint and Scott. Did you see the collar that Scarlet Witch had on in that scene? It's like blinking red, which I presume is to like stifle her abilities.
Cut off her powers, yeah.
Yeah, because like they had something like that in Deadpool too, right?
Yeah, like a collar for mutants.
I think this is the first time that they have it in the movie, though.
Yeah,
in the MCU.
I don't know what the timing was on the whole thing.
I guess I'm surprised that they didn't like stop and explain it for everyone.
Yeah,
I think let you infer it.
It's one of those like everybody else had powers they could negate, right? Except for her.
Yeah. So
they needed a MacGuffin of some sort.
Anyway, that was just the observation.
Tony very appropriately gets a flip phone. As in the inside of the package that Steve gives him. I just thought it was funny that Steve gave him a flip phone versus like I don't know another iPhone or one with a touchscreen. But I did think it was nice that Steve tells him, you call us anytime and I promise that we'll be there.
Yeah, he says if you need me, I'll be there.
Yeah.
So when do they team up again? Is it not until Infinity War, or is it even?
And actually, that doesn't even count too, right? Not until Endgame.
That's what I'm asking. Like, are they like together in Infinity War, or is it not until Endgame?
Not until Endgame, because he shows up in Infinity War after Doctor Strange and Tony have that fight.
Right. And then he ends up like on the spaceship.
Yep. So they never actually team up.
Yeah.
Until
that's
Endgame.
What I thought.
Yeah.
Anyways,
technically, Tony didn't call him either, because Banner did.
Oh, good point.
Right.
I'm assuming you're right. Pretty cool credits. There's like a lot of broken alabaster or something and shadows that show the figures fighting it out and stuff. Oh, that was kind of cool. And then mid-credit stinger, Bucky gets put into cryosleep in Wakanda until they can figure out how to get him unwinter soldierized. And T'Challa talks to Steve as they look out over Wakanda, and that's the first look that you get of it.
Yeah.
In the MCU.
I like how Cap was saying, they're gonna come after you if they know he's here, and Black Panther was just like, let him try.
Yeah, it didn't faze him one bit.
Right.
And then there's the post-credit stinger. It's Aunt May talking to Peter Parker about why he's all beat up, and he just says that he got in a fight at school. And then he's in his room and he's got like a new watch from Tony, some wrist technology. And it's got a Spider-Man signal that projects up onto the ceiling, but it seems weird for him to have that because like who is he calling with that? Right?
Oh, I thought it was just like a heads up display for the OS.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, because it looked like there were menu items
okay,
along the edges.
I took it to be like a bat signal. I'm like, well,
right.
Anybody else should have that.
It's like you would be answering your own signal.
Yeah, exactly.
Just letting everybody know you're coming.
But then I was wondering, I don't think that's ever used again, right? That particular thing. And in the commentary, Stephen McFeely, one of the writers, he was talking about that. He's like, I really hope they use this in the Spider-Man movie. We're gonna look pretty stupid otherwise.
Yeah,
I don't think they do use it.
Nope. That was the first and last time we see it.
Yep. And then finally, we get Spider-Man will return, and he does. Do you have any changes that you would like to have seen?
Not really. I mean, I think if I were to nitpick, I just feel like there should have been a little bit more of a compelling reason for the whole building should have exploded, and the neighboring zip code should have exploded for this to trigger the Sokovia Accords response.
Yeah.
That's one. I still feel like I would have loved to see Civil War with Thor and Hulk and what that would have been like. But I get it.
Maybe there'll be a what if.
Yeah, it'd just be a huge what if, and then Thor and Hulk would prove why they need to be sanctioned and stuff. So I think it removes the nuance when you throw in Thor and Hulk, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just those two. If I were to nitpick, just those two.
Yeah, I don't really have much either. I really wish in the first fight scene it wasn't so shaky cam and like cut so frenetically. It was really hard for me to watch that. I think that's like my only real legitimate gripe. I think the geography problem would also be nice to fix. I'm not really sure how you would do that.
Right.
But again, like the movie's so good, I don't really care about those issues.
Nope.
So let's talk ranking. This is probably going to be brief. The Rotten Tomatoes scores 90% with the critics, 89% with the audience. It puts it around Captain America the Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Avengers, according to other Rotten Tomatoes scores. I could list what we have bottom to top, but I don't think it matters. I'll just say...
What was the Rotten Tomatoes score for Winter Soldier? Was it the same or...
I don't remember. It was around... I mean, I wouldn't have listed it there if it wasn't like, you know, maybe it was 88 or maybe it was 91 or something like that. It'd be within a few percentage points.
Wow. Okay.
So I will say at the very top, we have like 3, 2, 1, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I think we are definitely leaning to the top on this one.
Yeah.
Do you want to give your final thoughts first? I think I did my first last time, but I'm not positive.
I don't remember. I mean, you can go first.
Okay. This movie is so good. I can't believe people can act this well in a superhero movie. It's all done fantastically. There's real stakes. There's real consequences. It has no business being this good. I thought it was interesting that if you look at the trilogy of the Captain America movies, in the first one, it's, you know, this mystic space stone powers and Red Skull, like, you know, who's basically a magical being at that point, right? Like that's the bad guy. Captain America 2, the bad guy is the Winter Soldier. He's like a cyber super soldier, right? And now in Captain America 3, the bad guy is just some dude, right? Just some dude who lost his family. And each movie manages to be significantly better than the previous one. I don't know how that is, but they've managed to do it. I feel like this was a test for the Russos and Marcus and McFeely to be able to do Infinity War and Endgame, and they nailed it. I've had several emotional responses watching the movie, writing notes about the movie, and then just discussing it. It's like that goes a long way for me in how I would rank something. Sometimes we talk about like our top 3 scenes. It's really hard to limit it to just 3 here. The fight scene in Bucky's apartment leading into the foot chase. All that is awesome. When the psychiatrist is talking to Bucky and it turns out to be Zemo, like the tension there, I really appreciated that scene. And basically everything from the point at which Cap and Bucky get to Siberia, all the way to the end of the fighting there. Like all that is amazing. Like the best in the MCU so far. So I think I already said this, but after the Winter Soldier was so good on rewatch, I questioned whether or not I would still think that this one is better. And I do think that some of the fights are better in the Winter Soldier. Some of them. But the story here is even better. And for me, this has to be number one. And it's not even that close. And the Winter Soldier is amazing. Right?
Yeah. What
about you?
I'm glad that we see eye to eye, because for me, this is number one. Right. I said so in the beginning when I was just kind of, there were parts of this I just forgot to even bother taking notes down, because I already had it in my head, and everything was playing out exactly the way that I remember it being. And you know, when these directors come and they try to take a shit on like superhero movies, I look at this, I look at Endgame, I look at Winter Soldier, and I'm like, how do you shit on all superhero movies?
Yeah, you can't just lump them all together.
Right, unless your entire library of superhero movies is relegated only to the Snyderverse. Like, then okay, I get where you're coming from. But this is such an awesome movie. You know, like my top 3 scenes happen to be fighting scenes, because it's the Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man. That last fight is just so epic. The airport brawl is like ridiculously epic with everybody, right? And then Cap, Buck, and versus everybody at the police station, the police chase and stuff. That was like ridiculously amazing. It all just gets so much better, and then they don't compromise on the dialogue in this movie. And
it's like, it's a great movie, even like beyond those scenes.
Yeah. Like, and it's so like when everybody talks about how they hate the Marvel humor, I'm like, there's like so much good humor in this movie, despite it being super serious and having such a super serious topic. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, it's just hands down. It's number one easily. And I can only see one movie possibly beating it, and I don't know. I'm not even sure if it will.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Oh, I feel a similar way. I don't think we're talking about the same movie.
You're not talking about WandaVision?
That's not a movie. That's a TV show.
All right.
Okay, so that makes Captain America: Civil War our new number one, and we don't have to fight over it. But we will do
2 Russo brother movies at 1 and 2.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Good night, bud. I love you.
Good night.
So we will do Infinity Saga Trivial Pursuit Poker just for funsies. And let's see. Boom. Let's read those.
Oh,
and
look at that.
I think I'm going to do the in the intro scene where the guy's reading the words in Russian. I'm going to do that for the for bridging the gap here.
Желание. Шавой. 17. Рассвет. Печь. 9. Добросердечный. Возвращение на родину. 1. Грузовой вагон.
It's funny. I know that number 1 is further up in our notes, but I don't want to cheat and scroll up.
Yeah, I'm not positive that their answer is the same answer that I have, though. You know, sometimes it's like more specific, but still right. You know.
Right.
Anyways, this doesn't matter because this one's just for fun. And it's my turn to bid first, right?
Yep.
Okay, I definitely have 3. Well, I think I definitely have 3. I don't want to be too cocky. And there's like 2 of the other 3 I have a pretty good guess on. So I'm going to go with 4. Do you think you can do 5?
No, 4 was my iffy.
Okay.
Moving iffy also.
If I had said 3, would you have said 4?
No, I would have stuck to 4, yeah.
So you would have done 4? Okay.
I would have risked being wrong on 4.
Okay, yeah. Especially when it doesn't matter, right? All right, let me send you the answers.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm ready for the questions.
Here we go. All right. The Sokovia Accords state that the Avengers will fall under the supervision of which governing body?
The United Nations?
Yes.
I can't believe that was
it.
The question for this this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What language does Wong ask Strange if he can read?
I just watched this today. Sanskrit.
Oh, you already watched Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
Oh, well. Nice. Cool. 2 for 2. What is the name of the student who first names Hulk?
I hate this scene.
Right.
This is where the kid is like, it was some kind of Hulk. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to say John. Do I need a first and last name? Oh.
You need a first and last name.
I know. I don't know it, but I remember now that they were named for like writers or something like that, the comic, but I don't remember the name.
You got the first letter right.
Jerry.
Jimbo. Jim Wilson.
Jim Wilson. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
That was not one of the ones I thought I could guess, by the way.
All right. What is the name of the heavy-duty suit of armor that Iron Man uses to try to stop the Hulk?
It better be the Hulkbuster.
It was.
All right.
Correct. And what country does Agent Phil Coulson not ask Thor if that is where he trained?
Oh, not ask Thor. I definitely know this one. Sokovia.
Right. That's the one I need to. Yeah.
I misread it, and I was like, ooh, it's either Pakistan or Afghanistan.
Right.
Okay, cool.
What part of her body does Mantis think has something to do with her empathic abilities?
Wait, do I have 4 already?
You already have 4. Yeah, this would be extra.
Yeah, this was one I was going to guess on. I'm going to say eyes.
Oh no, her antenna. Close.
Is that the answer?
Antenna is the answer.
Yeah,
Just
I thought
it
was. I mean, I know that is what it was, but I thought it was like a joke answer that I thought it was a joke in the movie that she thinks it's her eyes.
Oh, no.
You know, just so people don't think that I'm stupid. Anyways, all right.
So number 1 it is.
It's still number 1. That's great.
Still number 1. Ah, what a good movie.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. I think it might be all downhill from here.
Oh God, I was like, what's next? And then you said Doctor Strange. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I like Doctor Strange, but it's not Civil War.
It's no Civil War. It is not. So
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is not too bad. And it's right after Doctor Strange.
That's after Doctor Strange. Did you remember that, or did you just look that up?
I have a list. Yeah,
okay, I have the list earlier, and I was noticing that. That's it for Captain America: Civil War. Next up is Doctor Strange. If you want to contact us, you can email us at absolutelythebestpodcast@gmail.com. You can join our Discord. There's a link in the show notes where we also have links to our other socials and some ways you can help support the show. The best thing you can do would be to leave us a review. Please help us spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your wife, and tell your kid. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.
Peace.
That's it. We didn't go that long considering all the interruptions.
Absolutely the Best Podcast is a production of Audio Johnny, a subsidiary of Corporation Johnny.
Corporation Johnny. If it exists, we own it.